Hello. Alright, so this is going to be a video kind of about my thoughts on getting into flipping and kind of the things you should do while you're getting into flipping, and just kind of some general knowledge or general opinions that I have about the things that you should and shouldn't do when getting into flipping. Alright, so this is pretty much opinion based. This is what I believe, just kind of my summary on it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. When you're getting into flipping, it's going to be a little bit weird. You're going to see a lot of people doing a lot of weird things and a lot of cool things, and a lot of things that you believe you will not be able to do, but you will be able to do them. The first time I saw a choker fanning tutorial, which is that trick right there, I was like, nope, no way I'm learning that. But 2 months later, I looked up the video again, and I was like, I can do that, and I learned it. So you gotta think positive. Always have fun with it. If you're ever getting competitive with it and getting angry with it, you're doing it wrong. Because every trick you're learning should be fun. Every experience you have with your knife should be fun. No matter what I'm doing, if I'm failing a trick, if I'm doing a trick, I'm always having fun when flipping. Anytime this knife is in my hands, I am joyful. This is a safe haven for me, just flipping. So, there's pretty much what I believe first off, that you should always be having fun while flipping. Don't take it too seriously. Enjoy the little things. And yeah, go from there. When you're getting into flipping, you're going to, well, at least for me, I know a lot of other people as well, want to go straight into some of the complex stuff. But I want you to know that there is nothing wrong with doing the basic opening at least like 4 or 5 times a day, getting it down so you can do it smooth every time. If you can do the basic opening maybe only 1 out of 3 times good, and you can't get your rolls down correctly, or move your thumb out of the, or move your fingers out of the way in order to get it to close, keep practicing it. There is nothing wrong with learning all the fundamentals first, because it will make everything look cleaner later on. Like the half twirl, that's a good trick to learn. That can look good to end combos, even begin combos. You can go, from there into a Z choker. So yeah, always learn the fundamentals. Those are very, very important. Just like the Y2K is important, Zen rollover, all those basics. Learn the basics. They will help you. They will make everything look a lot cleaner, and it'll just, it's another trick to learn. If you're learning the basics and you only know the basic opening and say the Y2K, learn some more basics. That's another trick you have under your sleeve. Learn the half twirl. Learn, behind the 8 ball. Get behind the 8 ball clean. If you can only do a behind the 8 ball every now and then, and you're lucky when you get it, do that trick until you got it clean. So that's another trick that you have under your belt that's really clean. That's a good thing to start off with. Yeah, okay. Sorry, my cat's being kind of crazy right now. Now I'm going to kind of go into the discussion of whether you should be using a live blade or a trainer, which is a big controversy in the community. Everybody has an opinion on it, and everyone should have an opinion on it, because it's a pretty serious thing. You can't go your whole flipping career flipping a BB Barfly saying that, you're a great flipper, and then you pick up an Alpha Beast and you're too scared to do anything with it. That's not how it works. You need to have confidence. You need to be flipping a live blade. You need to have some confidence and know what you're doing. You need to have confidence. And I don't say rule out all trainers. I say make it 50-50. That's what I did. And nowadays I'm doing even less of 50-50, now that I'm a little more comfortable with myself in flipping, and I know that getting cut really isn't that bad unless you really fuck up. But something that I do since I do have both trainers and live blades, the only trainer I really have is a BB Barfly though, so yeah. Just, I like having those around. If I want to go someplace, I can bring it with me and flip. Since where I live, it's illegal to carry, and there's no way in hell I'm bringing this outdoors with me to lose it. Yeah. So what I would do, and still do a little bit to this day, only if it's like an aerial trick that I want to get, like, kind of the hang of it. But what you can do is, you see a trick, you want to learn it. You're like, okay, maybe I should start off with a BB Barfly. You know, especially if you're just starting out. You can get the feel for the trick. Say you're learning how to do it behind the 8-ball, and you really just want to start it really slow with no risk of cutting yourself whatsoever. You just do it super slow, you get the feel for it, and then as soon as you know all the moves you're supposed to do with your fingers, you swap over to the live blade, and you just do it. Now, that's about as far as I would go to say with doing things with a trainer. Because, again, there's downsides to doing that as well. You don't know the little things you're doing wrong when you're using a trainer. You don't know exactly what you're doing wrong, and see if I can explain this right, like how everybody else puts it, because it's true. Everybody says this, but that's because it's true. You're gonna, alright, say you're doing a Zen rollover. Notice how you have to do a wrist pass there, or else you're gonna cut yourself. You can go with a BB Barfly and say, oh, I'm going to do a Zen rollover. Oh, it hit my hand. No worry. I'll just do the wrist pass and clean it up. You do that, and then you go over to your other knife with a real blade on it, and you do that Zen rollover, and it's going to smack your hand, and you're going to be like, what? I was doing this perfectly with a Barfly. No, that's not how it works. You're dealing with a very sharp edge on your knife. You are going to get cut if you don't take precautions and take your time with things. When you have a live blade, you practice so much precaution that you learn it a little better. You know all the ins and outs of the trick. You know what's going to happen if you do something wrong, and you know how to avoid doing something wrong when you're using your live blade. So I always recommend doing a live blade, but there's nothing wrong with a little trainer here and there, especially if you're like an outdoorsy guy and you just want to flip outdoors as well, but you can't really bring your live blade out. You know, if you're living in a foreign country where you can't legally own a balisong, pick up a trainer if it's really what you love doing. There's nothing wrong with doing what you have to be able to flip. But yeah, I always recommend live blades. They help you. The more caution you use in a trick, the better your understanding of the trick, and the better you're going to learn the trick, to put it shortly. Now, yeah, so I covered the fundamentals. I covered using live blades. Now, pricing. When you get into this hobby, you're going to notice a lot of knives, a lot of prices, and a lot of mixed reviews. I'd say one of the most controversial knives that I can think of right now would be the Production Tachyon 3 from Microtech. You can look at that knife. You say, okay, there's a $300 knife. Most of the reviews are good. You go to a completely different area, most of the reviews are bad. It's all about preference, and the thing is, you're not really going to know your preference until you handle a few knives, which is the difficult part, figuring out which knife to buy. My personal favorite recommendation for the first knife would, let me get it real quick. A first knife that I always say is good to go for would be the Bradley Chimera. Now I know it's discontinued, and you will have to go through a secondary market to get it. But this knife has a lot of qualities that make it a good first knife. It is a little heavier, so you can do rollovers and chaplains with it, and it's got quite the blade on it. It's not a bad knife by any means. The blade's a little prone to rust, but if you take care of it like I do, it doesn't really rust. It's a little shorter. Yeah, it's a little shorter, it's a little thinner, it's a little heavier, but none of that really affects the flipping of it. I mean, it does a little, of course. Everything's better if it's full-sized, but it's a really good knife to start off with. It can help you learn the basics. It can help you get used to a live blade. It's a little bit funky at times, but these originally were like $90 on Blade HQ. Now you can find them on the secondary market for below 130 would be a good price, unless you get a modded one, like if you have one with G10 scales on it. But I think only a few people did the G10 scales for it. So yeah, it's a good price. It's a good knife. It's all stainless steel. It's really good quality. Yeah, I had something else I was going to say about it. Since it is only like $130 now for you to find a decent one, it's not going to be too expensive. There are much more expensive knives that are actually worse flippers than the Camira. So really take your time. Think about what you want in a knife before you buy a knife. Don't just go, oh, that looks cool, maybe I want to try it. Unless, you know, you're in the position where you know your style and you do kind of know what you want in a knife and you have the money to spend. But still, if you don't like a knife, you can always resell it. But kind of really just try and figure out what you want from a knife first before you go out and buy it. So another good knife to start out with would be the Benchmade 51. Like I say, starting out with a 51 can be a very wise choice because it's kind of lightweight. It's not a bad flipper at all. And if you don't like how light it is, then you could have fly tie for it, which does, yes, bump up the price quite a bit. Like I said, the thing about the fly tie 50 or the 51 is it's really light. If you like the lightweight, then you just got a good knife that you can flip. If you don't like it, you can add titanium for it, which makes it a little bit beefier with the weight. Brings it up to a really good weight. But the thing about the 51 is it is a little more expensive. And when you're getting into flipping, pricing can always be an issue. Because the number one thing is, hey, I'm just getting into flipping. What's a good knife below $100? And the only good knife that I could recommend for under $100 would be a Camira, if you can find one, or a BB Barfly, which isn't even a knife. And I say that because I've had Baron Sun knives. I did not flip it too heavily, and I only dropped it over concrete, and it broke. That handle snapped in half. I don't even know what happened to that knife. I lost it somewhere, or I'll show you where it snapped. But right near the pivot was like a weak spot. I've seen other knives, other Baron Sun knives snap there as well. But yeah, only over carpet. I've never flipped it outside, never dropped it on really any hard surfaces before. And it just broke. I do not really recommend Baron Sun knives unless you are a flat-out beginner and just want to see if you like it. But if you already know you like it and you want something else to flip that is durable, that is a good size and a good weight, then the BB Barfly would really be the only way to go. I would recommend, because as this thing is loud and it is thick, this is fun to flip. You can do any trick on this that you could any other knife. There's some sloppy left hand flipping. It aerials well, it rollovers well, it does chaplains very well. It's a little bit funky. It takes some getting used to because it is quite thick. Here's a size comparison between them. So the Alpha Beast is longer, the Barfly is thicker, and this is definitely loud, but there are modifications you can do. One of my favorites is you can line the inside with some paracord and glue it in there, which is what I've done before, and it works. You got to be very careful with that, though, and make sure you let it sit so you don't glue the inside of your Barfly to your handle. But for this only being 30 bucks, but pretty much shipped, maybe 35 bucks shipped, depending on where you live, and it's legal everywhere to carry too. You can't beat it for under 100 bucks. That's really the only way I recommend you go. After that, I'd say Camira. After that, 51. After that, maybe a bare bones if you want to give the BRS line a try. And after that, the only one I've really ever handled was the Alpha Beast, and the Alpha Beast, in my opinion, is the top tier right now. So, the pricing can be an issue, yes, and I know how difficult it is, but with enough patience and enough time, you can always get that good expensive knife that is going to fit you perfectly, which is how I ended up doing it. So I'm going to kind of end it there to recap a little bit. Learn your fundamentals. Try not to go cheap unless you're really just starting off and you haven't even touched one yet. Still, even if you haven't touched one, Barfly is a great choice because it gets you kind of knowing. And the heavier knife you flip, the easier it'll be to flip a lighter knife, kind of. Yeah, learn your fundamentals. Alright? And then use a live blade for the majority of your learning unless you absolutely can't. And that means just do whatever it takes to get you to be able to flip, man. Or woman. For the few female flippers out there. Pricing, it's always going to be there, but in this community, in this hobby, you get what you pay for. This isn't it's not a fad that's going to come into your local Walmart and say, hey, we can charge you an outrageous price for this, and it's not going to last throughout the summer. This is a knife. This is a tool. This is a tool, yes. It's going to last you. Take the Alpha Beast for example. Full titanium handles, a great blade steel, and hardware that you can replace. Other than that, the basic frame and the handles and the blade can last you a long, long time. This is not some fad. This is something that you put money into and you get joy out of. This isn't fucking Beyblades. This is a knife. This is a tool. This is a skill. This is a hobby. This is what you get what you pay for, and the more you pay, not necessarily the more you're going to get out of it, but the more craftsmanship, the better quality, the better hardware. Not necessarily the better flipping though. Yeah, there are some knives that you think might be great, but they don't flip very well. So yes, get what you pay for in this. Learn your fundamentals. Kind of just be patient with pricing and figuring out what you like. Live blades are always recommended. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for you when you are getting into flipping. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to leave tutorials recommendations down in the comments if you have a tutorial you want to see or any other kind of video. Yeah, peace out.